When you arrive at mixed methods research questions, you are still following the same chain of logic that has guided every step of your study so far. You began with a real phenomenon happening in a real context. Inside that phenomenon you identified the tension, the part of the issue that was not working, not understood, or not explained. You traced the consequence of leaving that tension unresolved, which revealed why it matters beyond the immediate setting. When you stepped back and looked at all three layers together, you could see the gap, the missing knowledge the field still needs. Sometimes that gap pointed clearly toward quantitative research. Sometimes it pointed toward qualitative work. But occasionally, the gap revealed that neither one alone could answer the questions that matter. Statistical patterns needed deeper explanation. Human experiences needed to be measured or tested. Or the phenomenon itself required two different types of understanding at the same time. In those moments, the methodology becomes mixed methods. Not because you prefer it, but because it is the only methodological pathway that can resolve the gap. Only when that methodological choice is made can you select the mixed methods design that best matches your purpose. And only then can you write the research questions. Mixed methods research questions are not written as a single question that tries to do everything. They are written as a set of three aligned questions that each serve a different role. You write one quantitative research question that aligns with a quantitative design and uses a quantitative verb. You write one qualitative research question that aligns with a qualitative design and uses a qualitative verb. And then you write one mixed methods question that explains what must be learned when both sets of findings are brought together. This final question is the anchor of a mixed method study. It tells the reader why both strands matter, how they speak to each other, and what the study is ultimately designed to explain, build, connect, or integrate. To write mixed methods research questions well, you also need to understand how integration works. In mixed methods research, there are three ways findings come together. In some studies, the results of one strand are used to inform the next. This is called connecting. In others, the first strand helps shape or build the instrument for the second. This is building. And in some studies, the two sets of findings are brought together at the end, side by side, and merged for interpretation. This is merging. These integration strategies shape the mixed methods design and directly influence how you write the mixed research question. Connecting aligns with explanatory sequential designs. Building aligns with exploratory sequential designs. Merging aligns with convergent parallel designs. If your design is explanatory sequential, your study begins with quantitative data and follows with qualitative data. This design is chosen when the gap reveals a pattern or relationship that needs explanation. The numbers can show what is happening, but they cannot tell you why it is happening. In this design, the quantitative question comes first because the entire study begins with the quantitative phase. The qualitative question comes second because that phase is designed to explain the results of the first. And the mixed question asks how the qualitative findings help explain or clarify the quantitative results. The verbs in the mixed question reflect this purpose. You use words like explain, clarify, expand, or help interpret because the qualitative phase is making sense of the statistical findings. When the questions are aligned, the design becomes clear. The numbers come first, the meaning comes second, and the integration ties them together. If your design is exploratory sequential, the order is reversed. In this design, the qualitative question comes first because the gap reveals that the field does not yet understand the phenomenon well enough to know what should be measured. You cannot build a survey or test a relationship until you understand the meaning of the experience. Your qualitative question explores or understands something that has not yet been conceptualized. The quantitative question comes after that because it measures or tests what emerged from the qualitative findings. And the mixed question asks how the quantitative results help build on, test, refine, or extend the qualitative insights. The verbs shift here. Instead of explain, you use verbs like build, test, refine, or extend because the quantitative phase grows out of the qualitative insights and puts them into measurable form. If your design is convergent parallel, both strands happen at the same time. This design is chosen when the gap requires both forms of knowledge simultaneously. Neither strand is sufficient on its own, and there is no sequence. The quantitative question and the qualitative question sit side by side, each addressing the phenomenon from its own angle. The mixed question asks how the two sets of results converge, diverge, or complement each other. Because integration in a convergent design occurs through merging, the verbs for the mixed question reflect this. You use words like merge, compare, converge, or combine because the interpretation depends on understanding how the two datasets fit together. Every mixed methods study uses three verb categories. The quantitative research question must use a quantitative verb such as relationship, predict, statistically significant difference, or association depending on the quantitative design. The qualitative question must use a qualitative verb such as explore, understand, describe, interpret, narrate, or examine depending on the qualitative design. And the mixed question must use a mixed methods verb such as explain, connect, integrate, expand, build on, merge, or compare depending on the mixed design. Each question uses the verb that aligns with its part of the design, and together the three verbs reveal the logic of the study. The order of your research questions must match the order and priority of your mixed methods design. Explanatory designs begin with quantitative questions. Exploratory designs begin with qualitative questions. Convergent designs place both questions side by side. In every design, the mixed question comes last because it is the question that pulls the strands together. It is not optional. It tells the reader how the findings will be integrated and what knowledge will emerge from their combination. To make this concrete, imagine an explanatory sequential design. The phenomenon is that 9th grade students in a STEM academy show strong achievement, but inconsistent engagement. The tension is that high-performing students report disengagement even in advanced classes. The consequence is that reduced engagement threatens long-term STEM persistence. The gap is that the field does not understand what is driving disengagement despite strong performance. The purpose statement says that the qualitative phase will explain the quantitative engagement patterns. The quantitative research question asks, what is the relationship between 9th grade students' self-efficacy and their engagement in STEM coursework? The qualitative research question asks, how do 9th grade STEM students describe the experiences that shape their engagement in advanced coursework? The mixed research question asks, how do students' descriptions of their engagement experiences help explain the quantitative relationship between self-efficacy and engagement? Now imagine an exploratory sequential example. The phenomenon is that teachers are beginning to use AI tools, but are unsure how to integrate them into instruction. The tension is that districts want to provide training, but do not understand teachers' concerns or decision-making processes. The consequence is that districts risk investing in training that does not meet teacher needs. The gap is that the field does not yet understand how teachers make sense of instructional AI. The methodology becomes mixed methods. The design becomes exploratory sequential because meaning must be understood before measurement is possible. The qualitative research question asks, how do teachers describe their experiences integrating AI tools into their instructional practice? The quantitative research question asks, to what extent do the concerns identified in the qualitative phase predict teachers' readiness to integrate AI tools into instruction? The mixed methods question asks, how do the quantitative results extend or refine the qualitative findings about teachers' integration experiences? And finally, imagine a convergent parallel example. The phenomenon is that a district is implementing a new instructional coaching model. The tension is that early evidence shows uneven implementation and conflicting perceptions. The consequence is that the district cannot refine the model without understanding both the outcomes and lived experiences. The gap reveals the need for simultaneous quantitative and qualitative understanding. The methodology becomes mixed methods. The design becomes convergent parallel. The quantitative research question asks, is there a statistically significant difference in teacher instructional practice scores between coached and non-coached teachers? The qualitative research question asks, how do teachers describe their experiences participating in the district's instructional coaching model? The mixed research question asks, How do the qualitative experiences of coach teachers converge with or diverge from the quantitative differences observed in instructional practice scores? Mixed methods research questions must not collapse both strands into one question. They must not blend verbs within a single question. They must not ignore the order of the design. And they must not write vague mixed questions such as, how do the results complement each other? Instead, each question must reflect its strand, its purpose, and its contribution. Each research question also determines the type of data you will collect. The quantitative question determines the numeric instrument. The qualitative question determines the interviews, observations, or documents you will gather. And the mixed methods question determines the integration strategy, connecting, building, or merging. Together, the three questions shape the entire study, from data collection to analysis to interpretation. Mixed methods research questions emerge from alignment. They arise from the logic of the phenomenon, the tension, the consequence, the gap, the methodology, the design, and the purpose. When written clearly and aligned with the mixed design, the research questions tell the whole story of the study's logic. They show what will be measured, what will be explored, and how both will come together to answer the question that neither method could answer alone.